Most welcome to the first video in a new series I call Famous Games. And my ambition is to go through many of very important games that has a very didactic character. It is not just good games, some of them are absolutely not perfect, but there is a certain point that is made in them. And I again encourage you to subscribe and like and share, of course. But we are making great progress, which I'm very happy for. It will make it easier for people to find this channel, especially I want visually impaired players find this channel, because that is the only accessible chess YouTube channel, or chess channel in general, for visually impaired. So, yeah, now we go. The first game I want to go through in this series, it is not because it is the most important game or something, but yeah, I just take them out of my memory. And what came to mind is a game from 1938. It is played in the AVRO tournament in the Netherlands, and white is Mikhail Botvinnik. He was world champion from 1948 till 1963, although he temporarily lost the title against Mikhail, and then, before he lost it again in 1963. But he is, I think one can call him the father of the Soviet school of chess, where one took many steps forward to develop teaching material so that every student would have a very good, well-founded chess understanding, knowing how to treat different tabias, as it often is called, typical thematic positions. So that was systematized, and the Soviet school of chess brought forward geniuses like, for example, Garry Kasparov and Anatoly Karpov, to name just but a few. His opponent is also very famous, José Raúl Botvinnik-Capablanca. Maybe I confused some of his names. This fantastic player from Cuba, world champion from 1921 to 1927. But in many ways, I think we can see Botvinnik and Capablanca as the opposite players. Capablanca was someone who played very much out of his intuition. He also played pretty fast, I would say, and didn't at all spend the time on chess needed to defend his title for a longer time. He was only world champion 6 years. Mikhail Botvinnik, on the other hand, of course, he had a good intuition, all world champions have, but he was, I think one can easily call him a working machine. He was a hard-working person, really, really hard-working, both with his own chess and building up chess education for others. So here we meet the systematic way of developing chess understanding faced with the intuitive, little bit sometimes nonchalant way of playing. So here we go. Botvinnik is white and starts with pawn to delta 4. Pawn to delta 4. Black replies with knight to foxtrot 6. Knight to foxtrot 6. White is Botvinnik and black is Capablanca. White continues with pawn to Charlie 4. Pawn to Charlie 4. And black goes about pawn to echo 6. Pawn to echo 6. White wants to control the center, and especially the echo 4 square. So he plays knight to Charlie 3. Knight to Charlie 3. Yeah, here black could choose among many moves, of course. If black wants to prevent white from playing echo 4, he could go transpose into the queen's gambit declined with delta 5, but Capablanca goes for the Nimzo Indian. Bishop to Bravo 4. Bishop to Bravo 4. Yeah, here we have a lot of possibilities for white, and this is not an opening video series or something, so I don't comment all different options, of course. White goes pawn to echo 3. Pawn to echo 3. A perfectly fine move. Or, yeah, often used even on the highest level today. Black played pawn to delta 5. Pawn to delta 5. And white played pawn to alpha 3. Pawn to alpha 3. And black captured the knight. Bishop takes Charlie 3 check. Bishop takes Charlie 3. And white recaptures, of course. Bravo takes Charlie 3. Bravo takes Charlie 3. And black plays pawn to Charlie 5. Pawn to Charlie 5. So, here we have a pawn structure that is pretty typical of the Nimzo Indian. White has a doubled Charlie pawn, although it is possible to exchange it. Charlie takes delta 5, which actually followed. But white's pawns on the queen side are somewhat weak. As compensation for this, white has the bishop pair. And after the following move, white also gains a pawn majority in the center, which will be very, very important later on in the game. White played Charlie takes delta 5, Charlie takes delta 5. And black recaptured. Echo takes delta 5. Echo takes delta 5. And white continues to develop. Bishop to delta 3. Bishop to delta 3. And black castles kingside. Castles kingside. And white continues with knight echo 2. Knight to echo 2. And this is this way of I thought about it when I went through the game now. Of course, I've gone through it many, many times. The first time when I was a teenager, I think. But now it struck me that Botvinnik often in his games places this king's knight on echo 2 rather than foxtrot 3. We can probably see this in later games when we discuss the exchange variation of the queen's gambit declined, where white also plays bishop to delta 3 and knight to echo 2. Follows up with foxtrot 3 and tries to gain space in the center with echo 4. This plan is the same as comes up in the game here also. And in a game I recently recorded that was about the World Championship for visually impaired in Moscow 1986, I commented the game that I lost as white against Vladimir Berlinsky, and there I chose the Botvinnik setup against the King's Indian, and that was also with pawns on Charlie 4, echo 4, knight on Charlie 3 and echo 2. Yeah, just a little bit of reflection. Probably completely useless. Anyway, we continue. Black plays pawn to Bravo 6. Pawn to Bravo 6. And this move is, yeah, I would say an okay move. Black wants to exchange white squared bishops, planning bishop to alpha 6 here. And that is understandable, because the white bishop can easily become powerful, taking part in the attack on black's kingside. So, exchanging light squared bishop, I think it makes perfect sense. White goes on, castles kingside, castles kingside. And black carries through his plan, bishop alpha 6. Bishop to alpha 6. Botvinnik captures, bishop takes alpha 6, bishop takes alpha 6, and Capablanca also, he recaptures. Knight takes alpha 6. Knight takes alpha 6. This development has weakened white's light squares. Charlie 4, for example, is a bit weaker now. And what also is important is that now black can actually push his pawn to Charlie 4 at a fitting moment, without locking in his own white squared bishop. Had he done that early, with the bishop remaining on the board, then black would have had a very bad bishop, the white square one. So white is little better, slightly, 0.2 pawns according to Stockfish 17. But yeah, basically the position is equal. What white struggles with is the bishop on Charlie 1. That is pretty bad. It is locked in behind many pawns on dark squares. So that is one of white's biggest problems, I would say. On the other hand, if it can get into action, white can enjoy a dark square control and domination, because black does not have a black squared bishop, a dark squared bishop. All right, we go on. Bishop bravo 2, bishop to bravo 2, and yeah, this might be an okay move. Maybe I would have liked moves like alpha 4 or something. The bishop doesn't do much on bravo 2, but yeah, it's not a horribly bad move either. And connecting the heavy pieces on the first rank is, of course, always a good idea. Black plays queen delta 7, queen to delta 7. You can see here how black really tries to increase his domination on the white squares. White played pawn to alpha 4, pawn to alpha 4. And the idea here is, of course, to put up some fight about on the light squares. And if white can maybe exchange this isolated alpha pawn in the future, maybe push alpha 5 or something to get some initiative on the queen side, yeah, that would be nice for white, of course. Black continues with rook foxtrot to echo 8. Rook foxtrot to echo 8. Also focusing on another light square, namely echo 4. So up to here, Capablanca played a very nice game. Many natural moves, typical Capablanca style, that's for sure. And he has no problems in the position. White plays queen to delta 3. Queen to delta 3. Which is not the best move, I can say. Now actually black makes a very good decision and pushes pawn to Charlie 4. Pawn to Charlie 4. This is a very double-edged decision. Maybe it doesn't look like that, but it is. Because when Black now has pushed the Charlie pawn, he gives up the pressure against the white center. The pawn on delta 4 is under no pressure. And the pawn on Charlie 4 can actually become a weakness if white can push pawn to Echo 4 and undermine this pawn on Charlie 4. So we will see that white tries to force this through, playing knight to Golf 3, Rook Alpha Echo 1, pawn to Foxtrot 3, and finally pawn to Echo 4. At the same time, Black can also do a lot of active things on the queen side. So now the game gets a bit sharper. Another thing finally with pawn to Charlie 4 is that if white now can get time to put his bishop on Alpha 3, the bishop suddenly has some air to breathe. Alright, we go on with Queen to Charlie 2. Queen to Charlie 2. And Black plays Knight Bravo 8. Knight to Bravo 8. And this is actually, maybe it is exaggerating a bit, but in hindsight, in retrospect, I would call this a blunder. A real blunder. Because the knight was not fantastic on Alpha 6, but this Knight Bravo 8 indicates that Black wants to play Knight to Charlie 6. Knight to Charlie 6. And that is what happens in the game. And it is heading towards Bravo 3. Putting a knight there is quite meaningless. Actually, Black wins a pawn on Alpha 4 finally. But that is absolutely of no significance, as white then gets a lot of time for building up the push in the center, Echo 4, and then follow up with the king side expansion. So what Black had to do was to maybe put the rook on the Bravo file and push Bravo 5 himself with the pawn, and try to create counterplay is difficult to say because white has not started an attack yet, but to drum up the initiative on the queen side. You cannot go around with the knight a lot of moves in such a sharp position. And this is actually surprising to see Capablanca, the guy with the fantastic intuition, making such a mistake. He would have understood that he can't go Knight Bravo 8, Charlie 6, Alpha 5, Bravo 3, 4 moves, while white gets time for actions in the center and on the king side. This is a very important part of the game that you should try to understand when you have time for walking the knight to Bravo 3 and then winning a pawn, and when you don't have time. This is a case where you absolutely have no time for it. So the principle, I will define the principle when we come to a position that demonstrates it better. So Black played knight to Bravo 8. White went on Rook Alpha Echo 1. Rook Alpha Echo 1. And it is actually interesting that Stockfish recommends Black to play Knight Alpha 6, because having it on Charlie 6, it just makes it more difficult for Black to get somewhere on the queen side. So, but of course, Capablanca did not play knight alpha 6. Had he planned such a thing, then knight bravo 8 would not have been thought of at all. He played knight to Charlie 6, knight to Charlie 6. And white went knight to golf 3, knight to golf 3. We see now that white has started to challenge black's white square domination. Soon Foxtrot 3 and Echo 4 will follow. And after the next move, black is virtually lost. Knight alpha 5, knight alpha 5. And Stockfish evaluates this position as about 2.5 pawns better for white. Imagine, more than 2 pawns advantage. This is surprising to me, but of course the engines sees through very quickly what is coming. I would just have the feeling, if I hadn't learned from the engines and from having seen games like this one, that white's position is promising, but 2 pawns up I would not have guessed. But yeah, the result is very logical. White plays pawn to Foxtrot 3, pawn to Foxtrot 3. So remember this plan, putting the knight on Echo 2, move it to Golf 3, put the rooks on Foxtrot 1 and Echo 1, play Foxtrot 3 and Queen to Charlie 2, and then push Echo 4. That is a very good plan. Black plays knight to Bravo 3. Knight to Bravo 3. And white pushes pawn to Echo 4. Pawn to Echo 4. And now we see that all white's pieces except the bishop on Bravo 2 are now focused on a kingside attack. And black shouldn't really capture on Echo 4, because after Delta takes Echo 4 and Foxtrot takes Echo 4, white also gets a half open Foxtrot 5. So then the rook on Foxtrot 1 also gets more active. Black played Queen takes Alpha 4. Queen takes Alpha 4. Yeah, it's sad to see. Black has won a pawn, but how much does it actually matter in this position? White played pawn to Echo 5. Pawn to Echo 5. Gaining space, and black's knight drops back to Delta 7. Knight to Delta 7. White continues with the Queen to Foxtrot 2. Queen to Foxtrot 2. There were many different ways for white to carry through the attack here. But this is one of the better ones also. So I don't go into all details here. I want to focus on the main points so that you really grasp them. Now white has the pawn majority on the king side, 4 against 3. Black for his part has 4 against 2 on the queen side. But as all action is going to take place on the king side, we instead have to look at what pieces are on what flank. White has only one piece on the queen side. That is the bishop on Bravo 2. Black has a queen, knight, and the rook on Alpha 8, and the knight on, actually 2 knights, Delta 7 and Bravo 3. Both of them are on the queen side. But black only has 1 rook on the king side. one piece on the king side, that is the rook on echo 8. Whereas white has 2 rooks, a queen, and a knight. And you should learn to look at the board in this way to see, okay, I lost a pawn, but if you actually then gain so much extra material, but while black was maneuvering the queen and the knight to the queen side to gain the pawn, you had time, white had time to transfer more forces to the king side. It actually means that you can say that white is up material, because he is up material on where it really matters, where things are going on. So that is how you should evaluate the position. Black went Golf 6, pawn to Golf 6. And white pushes pawn to Foxtrot 4, pawn to Foxtrot 4. Yeah, pawn to Golf 6, it takes control of Foxtrot 5 and Hotel 5. White's knight could have been used on any of these squares. So it's natural that black played Golf 6. But after Foxtrot 4, white threatens to push Foxtrot 5 and just continue the attack. So black goes pawn to Foxtrot 5, pawn to Foxtrot 5, trying to block white's action. Here actually it was quite fantastic. When I checked with Stockfish, Stockfish suggested that white could actually sacrifice the knight on Foxtrot 5. Play knight takes Foxtrot 5, Golf takes Foxtrot 5, and then follow up with Golf 4. And play it quite cool. Play King, Hotel 1 if necessary, and then actually drum up a fantastic initiative on the king side with his many pawns there. But yeah, the move that Botvinnik played was even stronger. But I was a bit amused by seeing knight take Foxtrot 5. So keep that idea in mind also, but that is not for the faint-hearted. White instead chose echo takes Foxtrot 6. Echo takes Foxtrot 6. And black recaptured. Knight takes Foxtrot 6. Knight takes Foxtrot 6. And white continued Foxtrot 5. Pawn to Foxtrot 5. And we can see that now it is also possible for white to move the bishop to Charlie 1 and then maneuver it to the king side. But okay, now still black has a knight on Bravo 3, so then the knight probably would capture the bishop. But when you move the bishop, the pawn from dark squares, you give more prospects for your dark square bishop, of course. So Foxtrot 5 was played. Black captured on echo 1, rook takes echo 1, and white recaptured, rook takes echo 1, rook takes echo 1. Changing pieces is understandable. You are under pressure, then you try to exchange pieces to decreasing the pressure simply. At the same time, now black exchanged off the only piece he had on the king side. But all right, there will soon come another rook to echo 8 also. So black played rook echo 8 right away. Rook to echo 8. And white played rook to echo 6. Rook to echo 6. Very, very strong move. Don't take on for echo 8. Move forward, but now you put pressure on, you're threatening the knight on Foxtrot 6. And you can also start thinking of coming in with your queen on black's king side also. Yeah. Black exchanged rooks. Rook takes echo 6. Rook takes echo 6. And white recaptured pawn. Foxtrot takes echo 6. Foxtrot takes echo 6. And now white has another really powerful component here. The passed pawn on echo 6. It is not only dangerous because it is two squares from the promotion field, but it also takes part in the king side attack, because now, for example, if the black knight would move, white could play queen to foxtrot 7. If the black knight on foxtrot 6, that is, would move, white could play queen to foxtrot 7 check. So you see how important the pawn has become suddenly. So black has managed to exchange two pairs of rooks. And that is a good thing. Of course, black is up a pawn, but the position is still completely lost. More than 5 pawns up for white, according to Stockfish. Black played king to golf 7, protecting the knight. And white played queen to foxtrot 4, And now we see the dark square domination, now not by the bishop, but by the queen. The queen can come in on Charlie 7, for example. And also queen to echo 5 is an interesting idea, to say the least. Black played queen to echo 8, And white played queen to echo 5, So now moves like pawn to echo 7 comes into mind. Also bishop to alpha 3 is really a distinct possibility now. So black blocks the pawn and controls alpha 3 by queen to echo 7. And here you can pause the video if you so wish. Take your time and think of how white decides the game. Yeah. Here we see this logic that I have tried to describe earlier is used again, namely that you can sacrifice material if that makes your opponent moving the defenders away from the king side. And that is what happens here. White played bishop to alpha 3. Very logical move. Very logical. Difficult to find if you have not seen games like this, but pretty easy to find if you have included this game in, so to say, your chess education. All right. Black plays queen takes alpha 3. And now yet another p-sack comes. Knight to hotel 5 check. This is not difficult. When you have found bishop to alpha 3, this idea is very close. I mean, the idea with bishop to alpha 3 was not only to just free the echo 7 square, it was also to take away the queen from the defense of the knight on foxtrot 6. So the logic here is to rip black off all defenders of his king, and that is what happens. Knight to hotel 5 check. Black plays golf takes hotel 5. And now it comes queen to golf 5 check. queen to golf 5. And that regains the knight on foxtrot 6, of course. Black plays king to foxtrot 8, king to foxtrot 8, and white plays queen takes foxtrot 6, check. Queen takes foxtrot 6, check. And again we see the importance of the echo 6 pawn. Black cannot really play king to echo 8, because then white follows up with queen to foxtrot 7, check, king to delta 8, and queen to delta 7, checkmate. So he has to go to golf 8, king to golf 8. And now it is worth pausing here. We have actually now a position where black has no piece to defend his king. White, on the other hand, has the queen on the king side and this very dangerous pawn on echo 6. That is really a powerhouse. But it's very, very instructive to see how Botvinnik used this principle I try to explain here. That you count material not on how many pieces that are captured. It has more relevance to see where the pieces are. Do you have more pieces where it makes a difference? Or do you have the pieces where nothing happens? That is what you should think of. Alright, white goes pawn to echo 7. Pawn to echo 7. Threatening to promote the queen to a queen on echo 8, and as well queen to foxtrot 8, checkmate. So black has to start giving checks. Plays queen to Charlie 1, check, queen to Charlie 1. And white goes king to foxtrot 2, king to foxtrot 2. And black plays queen to Charlie 2, check, queen to Charlie 2. And white goes king to golf 3, king to golf 3. Black continues with his checks. Queen to delta 3, check, queen to delta 3. And white kings goes to hotel 4, king hotel 4. Yeah. Black gives next check, queen to echo 4, check, queen to echo 4. And white takes the pawn on hotel 5. King takes hotel 5. And the point of taking this pawn is to make it possible for white in the not far future to block checks from black's queen with the pawn coming to golf 4. So first you had to get rid of that pawn on hotel 5. And for sure, black cannot play queen to golf 6 to exchange queens, because he will not be in time to stop a new queen to appear on echo 8. So black played queen to echo 2, check, queen to echo 2. And here you don't play pawn to golf 4 just like that, because then black can play queen takes hotel 2, check. So first you play king to hotel 4, king to hotel 4. Black continues, queen to echo 4, check, queen to echo 4. So now we have the same position as we had a couple of moves ago, but with the difference that there is no pawn on hotel 5. So white can play pawn to golf 4, pawn to golf 4. Blocking checks on the 4th rank. Black has one check only at his disposal. So yeah, queen to echo 1, check, queen to echo 1, check. Yeah, of course, theoretically you had more checks. Queen takes golf 4, check, for example. But yeah, I don't counter silly moves. Queen to echo 1 check, and white played king to hotel 5. King to hotel 5. And here, the chess genius Capablanca had to resign against the really hard-working chess talent Mikhail Botvinnik, who 10 years later became the next world champion. So, to sum up, black played really well in the opening, even had an advantage, especially when Botvinnik with queen to delta 3, I think it was on move 13, 14, somewhere there, played queen to delta 3 and gave black the possibility to push Charlie 4 with tempo. But then Capablanca immediately went wrong, thinking that he then would maneuver the knight from alpha 6 to bravo 3 and capture a pawn on alpha 4, and that gave white 5 moves actually to build up his push in the center with echo 4, and then going on to completely slaughter black on the king side. What black overlooked here, surprisingly, is that he gave up the king side just for a pawn. And then he was actually completely lost and under in material, although he was a pawn up. And we can see how elegantly white demonstrated this principle of getting rid of the defenders on one side of the board, even at the cost of first a pawn and then this piece sacrifice bishop to alpha 3, which after some tactics, the knight hotel 5 for example, led to the exchange of knights, and then white had a position with a queen and advanced pass pawn on the king side against no defenders whatsoever for black. So this is a game that you should go through many times really to understand these very important ideas. I have sometimes I have in the series just for fun in the game Magnus on Vela demonstrated how I sacked a rook in the opening because I could see that I would have so much more activity on the king side where things mattered. So it was actually so that I was material up, although I was a rook down. This was easy to see for me because I had studied games like this one. Many strong players, maybe even the leading players in the world at that time, 1938, we saw it demonstrated by Capablanca, obviously was not enough aware of these principles that I hope that you now have enjoyed learning about. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.